A commercial airliner goes down over a war zone in eastern Ukraine.
Nearly 300 innocent lives were taken, so there has to be a credible international investigation.
To find out what caused the breakup, Dutch investigators need to see the wreckage. They can't get access to the crash site. They're still in a complex negotiation process with government authorities and local officials.
How can we conduct an investigation without seeing the wreckage?
Days after the crash of MH17 in eastern Ukraine, Dutch investigators are nowhere to be seen. Without access to the wreckage, they risk losing crucial evidence. Despite the setback, the Dutch team refuses to let any speculation about the crash affect their investigation. They may be able to disprove other theories being floated in the media. Speculation that flight MH17 may have encountered severe weather, or a technical malfunction, or some other rare calamity. They even look into the remote possibility that MH17 was hit by a meteor. Ultra noise is a distinct sound wave that can be measured when a meteor decelerates as it enters the Earth's upper atmosphere. 3 possible causes, no likely explanations for what brought down MH17. A few days later, the investigation gets a break. Militants in Ukraine have recovered the black boxes and handed them over to Malaysian authorities. It's a major development. The black boxes could hold vital clues to what caused the fatal crash. The critical devices are then sent to the United Kingdom for analysis. A few days later, the investigation takes another turn. Clearance is finally granted to visit the crash sites. But then, yet another change of plan. With the bitter, ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russian-backed militants, the situation in the area of the crash is changing on a daily basis. In the Dutch city of Eindhoven, the first remains of flight MH17's victims have returned home. The pressure on the Dutch Safety Board is about to intensify. While investigators have still not seen any physical wreckage, they do now have access to the flight recorder analysis. Unfortunately, the FDR data gives them nothing new to go on. Investigators hope the cockpit voice recorder will provide something more. The timing tells them that whatever happened to flight MH17, it was extremely sudden. Investigators suspect that the plane was likely brought down by either a bomb or a missile. They wonder if any clues can be uncovered through an even closer analysis. Investigators discover 2 sound peaks just before the recording stops. The cockpit has 4 microphones. Investigators hope to triangulate the location of the sound by measuring when the spikes hit each microphone. Investigators now realize they're onto something big.
It hit the captain's mic first, then moved back through the cockpit. It looks like the sound came from in front of the captain, outside of the airplane.
Without access to wreckage on the ground, investigators turn to forensic analysis of debris found somewhere else, inside the bodies of the cockpit crew. They hope the gruesome task can help them identify what kind of explosive weapon took down MH17. They find hundreds of similar-looking steel fragments lodged within the bodies. But in the captain's body, they find something else, something that stands out. Investigators don't know what it is, but they do know from the CVR that the blast hit from the captain's side of the cockpit. If the distinctly shaped fragment can be matched to the weapon used in the attack, it could be a crucial clue. Despite having strong evidence pointing to a missile, in order to prove their theory, investigators will need to see the wreckage. But so far, they still haven't been able to gain access to the crash sites. Almost 4 months after the crash of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH17, investigators finally get the break they need, permission to travel to eastern Ukraine. On November the 4th, Dutch investigators finally arrive at one of the wreckage sites. Their priority is to find pieces from the front of the aircraft, the cockpit. They hope that wreckage will tell them more about the blast they heard on the CVR. But they have very limited time to collect evidence from this and 5 other sites. The sites are located in territory controlled by separatist forces. The front line is less than a mile away. Complicating matters, local soldiers are watching their every move. Around the world, people are pointing fingers at the separatist forces. They may not want the investigators to find anything that could incriminate them. Then the investigators receive one last crucial piece of evidence. After months of trying, investigators have finally managed to bring pieces of wreckage from Malaysia Airlines Flight MH17 back to the Netherlands. They focus on the section of the aircraft that they believe was closest to the blast. They start reconstructing the cockpit. As the reconstruction takes shape, a startling picture emerges. The left side of the cockpit has sustained heavy damage. With the reconstruction nearly complete, investigators separate pieces of shrapnel made of steel from the aluminium shell of the aircraft. For investigators, there is no longer any doubt. A missile brought down MH17.
Take a look at this.
Another piece from the missile?
Yeah, I think so.
The cockpit reconstruction has given investigators a much clearer picture of how flight MH17 was blown out of the sky. Investigators know that the bow tie-shaped pieces of shrapnel found in the captain's body and in the fuselage may be the key to solving the next step of the mystery.
What kind of missile did you come from?
The fragments are from the warhead of a Buk surface-to-air missile system. It's made up of hundreds of bow tie and square-shaped metal fragments that explode when the missile gets close to its target. There's ample evidence that the Russian-backed militants have access to this type of weapon. A separate judicial inquiry is tasked with determining if they actually fired it.
We're clear to Russia.
As the accident report is published, a criminal investigation into who was responsible for the deadly attack remains unresolved.